Andrew Marvell, a dialogue between the soul and body. Soul, oh, who shall from this dungeon raise a soul enslaved so many ways, with bolts of bones that fettered stands in feet and manacled in hands? Here blinded with an eye, and there deaf with the drumming of an ear, a soul hung up as 'twere in chains of nerves and arteries and veins, tortured besides each other part in a vain head and double heart.
Body, oh, who shall me deliver whole from bonds of this tyrannic soul, which, stretched upright, impales me so that mine own precipice I go, and warms and moves this needless frame, a fever could but do the same, and, wanting where its spite to try, has made me live to let me die, a body that could never rest, since this ill spirit it possessed.
Soul, what magic could me thus confine, within another's grief to pine, where whatsoever it complain, I feel that cannot feel the pain, and all my care itself employs, that to preserve which me destroys, constrained not only to endure diseases, but what's worse, the cure, and ready oft the port to gain, am shipwrecked into health again.
Body, but physic yet could never reach the maladies thou me dost teach, whom first the cramp of hope does tear, and then the palsy shakes of fear. The pestilence of love does heat, or hatred's hidden ulcer eat. Joy's cheerful madness does perplex, or sorrow's other madness vex, which knowledge forces me to know, and memory will not forego. What but a soul could have the wit to build me up for sin so fit? So architects do square and hew green trees that in the forest grew.
And that was our extra deep start to the podcast for this week, which was called Litcast last week, and we weren't sure what we're going for. We haven't put up that podcast yet and asked for suggestions for names, so we're going to change it this week to Talking Lit, and then you can suggest another name. Yeah, we'll just keep on changing it every week, and we'll just actually be called the Lit Sock Podcast and have no actual fancy name.
Yeah, it's a chameleon name.
What is the name of next week? And I promise
it's
I will
an
actually.
existential question.
Always
What is it? What is the name?
Yeah, no one can give us. I will apologise in advance. That was the second time we recorded that, and that means that I might have got something in my throat, so I might cough occasionally. I'll try not to tap my feet during this recording, which is something I found out about last time. So apologies for the tapping in the last one. This time we have the same team again, plus one extra member. So we have Kiefer, myself. We have the additional Kitty, the sous chef of the society. Say hello.
Present and correct. Hello.
And as usual, we have Laurie, Hannah, and Thicke.
Hey.
Hey.
I like it. It's like gangster entrance. Yeah.
Strong beginning.
Yeah, like
I'm
everyone.
trying out a new thing. You know.
It's like she's proper gangstered up. She's got like low riding jeans, one of those long t-shirts on.
Chains, everything. Not really.
Don't ruin it.
Yeah.
The joy of audio.
They don't know anything.
There's a reason this isn't filmed.
We're standing on each other's backs right now.
Who knows?
Yeah. We had a bit of a quick challenge this week, which was to turn song lyrics into poems, which is going to be our way of introducing.
It's really hard.
It is.
See, I am the partial judge.
Yeah, we will have to excuse Kitty and Thicke from this one. Kitty has more of an excuse because she wasn't actually meant to be here, but she's come out, she's dropped by and helps out with us recording the lectures, doing interviews, and agreed to be in the podcast. Which, you know, she's just that generous kind of soul.
All in a day's work.
Thicke just didn't do it. Like
The dog ate it.
I stick to my story.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Thing is,
It was
though,
a big dog. It was a big Pomeranian.
A big Pomeranian.
A giant Pomeranian.
A giant Pomeranian.
Yes.
Well, why didn't you write a poem about having your poem stolen by a dog?
It was too traumatic. I couldn't.
Go there.
Well, you haven't emotionally advanced past
I'm
it.
still in the concept considering it's a song lyrics. So therefore, shouldn't it?
You have to find a song about a giant Pomeranian and then convert that.
Yeah.
Surely
They're hard to
it'd
find.
be out there. So I felt there's flaws in your story here. The impartial partial judge is not.
Yeah,
I'll
so,
pass you a 50 when we're
They heard that.
So what Thicke is actually going to do is he's going to read one of his own poems, which is in the style.
It is vaguely in the style of Patti Smith, who is also dedicated to.
And
Patti Smith circa like 1973.
We'll go with that.
yeah, and she also had musical talent, or like.
Yeah, well, she's
Yeah.
a
Yeah, she's a
singer.
musician,
She's
yeah.
a rock
Singer.
and roll.
Yeah, all
So
the
it's,
people
yeah,
know.
so yeah. No,
She's
carry
an
on.
icon.
You've got to give us more, because
Oh, I
like,
see. Patti Smith. People know who Patti Smith. If you don't know who Patti Smith is, switch off. No, don't do that.
That's
Don't do
right,
that.
guys.
do
No.
not listen to that man.
Yeah, we're not pretentious
listen to
like
that,
that.
no.
She was originally an artist, and then she moved into writing poetry, and then became one of the big kind of rock and roll artists, one of the biggest, I think, female rock and roll artists. And she hung out in New York in the 70s with Andy Warhol and
Cool
Gerald
crowd of
Belanger and
kids.
all
She's a
those
national
sort of
treasure.
kind of people. Not of our nation.
Oh, no, not of our nation, no.
But she did
To her
actually,
own
she does the introduction to
Yeah.
my Blake anthology.
Yeah.
I didn't realise she was into Blake. I was really quite happy
Oh
with
God,
that.
yeah. She used to go out with Robert Mapplethorpe, you know, before he was gay.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
well.
What's that man doing? Right, so we're gonna do a bit of a round robin thing. So I've got two, because I wanted to do another song that was quite funny, and that's not quite worked out, which is a shame. But I still do have two
cute.
poems.
Okay.
So,
So-
you're picking up TK slacks.
Yeah, I know. But because it's not actually grammatically all there.
I feel like I'm letting the scene, but mine's tiny. It's just a tiny little.
No, my
Especially
second
with
one's-
songs, when you put them, when you just get the lyrics up, take away the repetitive choruses. There's actually
Oh,
not
man.
much there. How do they stretch it out into like 5 minutes? I
Did
don't
either of
understand.
you two get that thing where you had the song and you looked at it and it was like, that's really deep, that meaning's really. You looked at the lyrics, you're like, oh my god.
Yeah,
like,
it was
no.
really hard. Like loads. I was just thinking of all my favourite songs, and I look up the lyrics, and I'm like, these literally,
Yeah.
they do nothing. Like they're not doing
Yeah,
the same.
The
'cause-
short few songs I browse out are all like Ice Cube lyrics, and I was like, a little white girl from Essex can't read this.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to go down the
You
tree.
don't get that
It's
same
not going to have the same
atmosphere.
impact, I'm afraid.
So I wanted to do this song by Cold War Kids called Mine Is Yours, and it has this really good 2 lines in it where it says, all my stones become your pearls, all of my trials are your treasures. And I was like, it's so good in the song, it's
Drop
perfect.
the mic.
I looked at the rest of it and I was like, I was like, the song's about nothing. It's
Yeah.
just,
This is the
it's just
problem.
nice
This is the
sounding.
problem.
I'm like,
Yeah, but it's
I
all
think there's an I'm going to go on the record as saying this. The Ed Sheeran, the Icy Fire, the Hobbit song.
yeah.
That's got some poetry.
Yeah.
That's like a ballad.
No, it is. Oh god, I love that.
Actually, I remember the end of that film and it came on. I was like, who's that? That's
Yeah.
really good. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh.
Everyone, oh, haters.
I don't-
He's a bleeding heart.
I don't hate Ed Sheeran. I was just disappointed it was Ed Sheeran. I was like,
okay.
It
I
was,
was like-
he is a bit cringy, but
yeah. I was like, hoping for someone like.
Oh, guys.
Guys.
Oh no, come on, Little
Poor
One
Ed.
made me cry. That song about friend's miscarriage. I was just like on the bus, like, oh my god, I didn't realize this is about dead baby. I was like,
I was like, where have we gone to?
Did you
Poetry, please.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I was just
Go.
going to do Ed Sheeran banter now. Right, this is Florence and the Machine, Between Two Lungs. This is my adaptation of it, which I did this morning. Between two lungs it was released, carried me, blew me forward, screaming, we are all too young to die. It flew, crept, passed between us as we slept, slipped from your mouth to mine. Gone are the days of begging, theft, gasping. The air has filled me, head to toe. I can see the ground. I have this. I hold it tight. Keep it in my chest. Pray to God this breath will last as it pushes past my lips as I gasp. Ooh. See,
Very
powerful,
nice, very
powerful. I
nice.
thought.
you've just grown a mane of red hair after that. Silly.
You need the long flowing dress.
You know.
I couldn't probably hit
Even-
the notes. I would have did an impromptu singing for you, but that's not going to
Yeah.
happen.
No, that was really good.
Oh.
Why
I
did you
think-
choose that one?
Because that was actually a fluke. I had it on, I had my music on shuffle. I always shuffle, and I'm always, I'm bad for doing that thing when you flick through all of them. And that came on, and I was listening to it. I was like, hold on, that's actually got really good lyrics. And at the
She's
point,
a
I was,
poet.
I was in
Yeah.
the middle of the Cold War kids related crisis, and I was like, I was like, my savior. So I like Florence even more now.
There you go.
Yeah.
So,
The other one who's like that is Bats for Lashes. Her music, actually, if you listen to the words,
Do you know-
it's beautiful.
do you know, I've never really got into Bats for Lashes, but I have heard very good things about their lyrics. So.
Laura, if you watch the music video, oh god, I just cry. I mean, I don't cry because
You do. Yes, you do. You sit looking longingly out of a window by candlelight, listening to Bats for Lashes, and just
There is the
solitary
English lit
tear.
stereotype.
You don't know me. You don't know my life.
You don't know my struggles.
Right, I think we'll move on to yours,
You're
Laurie.
going to go to mine next? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this is by Linkin Park, which is really weird. I used to love them when I was like 12,
So you're
13.
releasing the inner teenage angst.
Yeah, I am. I was feeling angsty lately, and I just wanted to. And I was just reading. I did the opposite, where I was more like the song. It wasn't the song because this is quite a like ravey, upbeat song.
Yeah.
But I was just reading different lyrics to my favorite songs. Found this, and I was like, wow, this is actually. I don't know. It just hit me kind of hard. Like,
Hit us.
it's called Castle of Glass. Take me down to the river bend. Take me down to the fighting end. Wash the poison from off my skin. Show me how to be whole again. Fly me up on a silver wing past the black where the sirens sing. Warm me in a nova's glow and drop me down to the dream below. Bring me home in blinding dream through the secrets that I have seen. Wash the sorrow from off my skin and show me how to be whole again. Because I'm only a crack in this castle of glass, hardly anything left for you to see. Only a crack in this castle of glass. Is there anything else that I need to be?
That got me. That got me.
Hard. I'm feeling,
Yeah.
when you're feeling fragile, just feel like a little crack.
It's just you don't, especially like knowing it's them as well. I just like it. Just
Yeah,
they,
no, it
they're
doesn't. That's
gone.
the thing, it doesn't relate at all because everyone, especially because I love all their early music, which is really like grrr and headbanging and screaming and very much like basic teenage angst. And I just read that, I was like, that's actually poetry and imagery and
So
felt the
sweet.
narrative. So I was like, oh, do that one.
Yeah, very, very nice.
So yeah.
I feel like now I'm thinking musicians are just poets who have had the good sense to go where the money is.
Yeah, I feel like that in some ways. Like,
I don't know.
Yeah, no.
Sure.
My
maybe
one.
not everyone.
I
I
think
think
we've got a
Hannah's-
sample of every
yeah.
single kind of sphere.
Hannah's about to disprove that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I know what's coming.
This is
here.
good.
Because
fun.
my one, I've done a little bit of a different take on it. I've taken
Rebel.
Robin Thicke's Blurred Lines, and I've written it more as if, I'm out dancing
Doing your
in the
thing.
club, doing my thing, and I bump into Robin Thicke, and he's using that song.
You guys
usual.
should have
To chat
seen
me
though
up.
the dance move. She just kind of mimicked that.
That was
Yeah.
a bit of a robot shimmy. Like, it's amazing.
Doing my thing.
doing my thing. So
So you have to picture her doing the robot as she's reading. I think that would be an interesting
It's a
thing.
very slow, stiff robot.
Little
Slight little
shuffle.
Little shuffle.
right, here we go. So I can't hear what you're trying to say. Maybe I'm going deaf, or maybe you're going blind and you're completely out of your mind. Okay, you're now uncomfortably close, and I need domesticating. And it's in my nature to need liberating. Okay, hey, I'm not your good girl, and I really, really don't want it. And I mean, I'm a good girl, I suppose, but just let me please get past you. Blasted? Yes, there are no blurred lines, and again, no, I don't want it. The way you grab me makes me feel nasty. I'm the girl of your dreams in these sexy jeans. You need to let off some steam. I'm the hottest bitch in this place. Feeling lucky, eh? What, a hug? No way. What rhymes with hug me? How about not me?
I like that. That's really good.
That's really good.
I feel we're about to have a breakthrough in like people watching it when they get to that. It's like they've done it. She's done a feminist blurred lines thing. Like, absolutely
who
battered
thought
out
it was
the park.
possible?
Yeah.
No, it's because when I approached this, I was looking at songs, and I thought actually, I'm quite interesting to look at a song that has got really rubbish lyrics and see what you can do with it. I mean, really reading through like half of it, when you're reading it as a bit of literature, that song, like, it doesn't make sense, and it's just full of like
Well, we've got a little
crude,
jangly tune in the background.
just crude, horrid language. Really, when you look at it without the like
It's kind of
magic
makes
of
it
Pharrell.
doubly frustrating because it could have been a good song if he just hadn't had those words.
Yeah.
that were
words are
massively
powerful,
offensive.
people.
Yeah.
You know.
And this thing is, it's interesting, I think, with this exercise, the idea of taking a song, because we went to see a play yesterday, guys, and I've been into the whole performance aspect of drama. We always study it as books, and how valid is that? Same with songs. There's that relationship between the text on a page.
Oh, yeah.
And this is sort of, it splits that apart. You were getting the song lyrics and all this music and performance.
Yeah, we can always tell, like, with the things that you guys have read, like, which of the performer is a songwriter and a singer, and which is the one who had like this garbage written for them.
Yeah,
and now they're
who's
pumping
the
it out
poet
to, like,
who
some sort of like
actually has
tacky Euro
music
house
attached?
beat.
Yeah.
Although I'd like to hear Hannah say, "I'm not your bitch," just for like forever.
I'm not your bitch.
It's just this is it.
That's
I'm
the
not, just so
soundbite,
official.
like every time.
Just like, I'm not your bitch.
That is now my ringtone.
Just like seriously, like, I'm not your bitch. Like, oh,
It's at this point where I
mantra
kind of wish we were in a recording studio so I could get it on a button just every song. I'm not your bitch.
Well, I mean, after this, maybe.
Patented,
I
guys.
could sell a ringtone, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could get like one of those little like, MTV adverts pop up, like 20 quid a month.
Yeah.
You can get, I'm not your bitch in your
Price
phone.
0001 for this one, 0002 for that one.
Yeah,
we can do that. We can make it happen.
I think I need to do that. Just have sound bites and just I'm not your bitch.
Need some
And like
sound
other related stuff like Thicke last week. You love everybody.
Everyone.
Right, we're
Okay.
gonna challenge Thicke, and what Thicke is gonna do
This is
is gonna
punishment.
recite one of his own poems off the top of his head, and he's gonna do it for the whole time with all four of us just staring at him intensely.
And he's not allowed to
Well,
move.
that's not going to happen.
Just look up, just look up.
Okay.
Right, okay.
Not intensely.
Oh my God, stop it. That's what they're doing to me. That's not
Okay,
fair.
look, we'll
Guys,
look
the
away.
impartial, partial judge take stand, eyes on the floor.
Okay, so this is a poem called Mitochondria for Patti Smith. Right. Mama grew bad flowers out of her butt cheeks, tack-a-tack rhythm running a train track through cotton panties. She found me in the street, the way Albertine found her, the way Jean Genet found her, the whole bastard ancestry of rock star poets going back to God herself. And now God is shucking oysters at the deli, watching the sweat hiss down salt arms till it evaporates halfway to the ground. Mama, I've got a belly full of poems and a demon on my back, and all the demons come with backups, show them a cruciform and they'll reboot. Mama, they raped me by the station. Mama, they chained me to the earth. Mama, my body doesn't fit like it used to. And I've been to sleep at night thinking I would die. And I've been to sleep at night hoping I would die. And I've been to sleep at night, woke up in Père Lachaise breathing bone dust. Mama, where were you in the night? Where was your holy voice and your wrists that look like mine? Where were your wings when I needed them? Mama, I have seen the face of God, and she is awkward. White shirt, boy elbows, car crash alchemist. Mama, thank you. You taught me rough and weird and urgent. Mama, thank you. Thank you. Amen.
I do like that poem.
Ooh.
I've got to say I do like that poem. What you didn't realise was he actually performed that with his eyes closed, so he didn't know she was looking at him anyway.
We all religiously were looking at him. I was like, you can't look at him. You can't
No,
look
it's
at him.
because I knew after he got going it'd be fine. Like if you perform that in front of people at open mic nights
Yeah.
without notes anyway. Like, all
Yeah,
the
but
time.
it's different. You can't see people's eyeballs at an open mic night.
It's true, it's true.
I was going to say, like, what's interesting going back to the whole, like, song thing is, like, you've got a natural rhythm, like, as you're saying it. Like, it's not, you're not singing it as such, but you've still got the, the concept of how it sounds aloud is important. And, like, definitely you reading it compared to maybe one of us reading it, it would sound different because we wouldn't know where to emphasise it. We wouldn't know what bits we need to stress. Whereas because it's a personal poem to you, like we definitely get that sense. And maybe that's going back to what we were saying about the songs and songwriting. Like you can tell when someone's written their own music because it just comes across so much better.
Yeah,
And like,
they know themselves. They
Yeah.
know what they were trying to get across, what goes where. Yeah.
And you can see you can't see, listeners, but I got to enjoy watching Thicke. He actually rocked his body as he said the words. They are kind of pushing out each line.
Well, the thing is, I mean, that a lot of my poetry, especially the stuff that's for performance, comes from a rhythm before the words are even there.
Yeah.
And so that one, I'd just been listening to Horses, Patti Smith's first album, and it was like a seminal album. But I'd been listening to it, and those rhythms kind of got into my head and my body, and that's where the
I
rest
got
of
that
it came
sense from it. I was going to ask you if you'd taken her rhythms and used them in the poetry. You just made that obvious.
Signature in
But because I got that. I don't know her don't know her music personally, but I just thought that sounds like, don't know, it just sounds like someone else's rhythms there, at least playing a factor.
I mean, it's not just her rhythms. Like it's mediated through
Oh,
all
yeah.
sorts of other stuff. But
Great, you
that's
just stole it.
no, I'm just. There are going to be musicians here who are just like, what the hell? That has nothing to do with
the
her rhythms.
essence, the essence.
But that's where it started, and then
We love
it
good
kind
essence.
of the words come and change it, and it becomes this whole cool marriage thing in theory.
It's like the whole idea behind doing this came from my friend who does open mic music, and he the way he makes his songs is he comes up with like sound, and then he makes noise and then makes words and then molds the music to the words. But he's also adapted his father's poems into and written songs out of them. And that it's that kind of thing of we're doing the reverse of what he does by taking a song and then making it a poem.
And then you put new rhythms on it.
Yeah.
I'm certainly not doing the rhythms.
No.
Linkin Park.
There was definitely no headbanging going on
Yeah,
when I was
no
reading.
screaming either. So, but yeah, no, thinking about this, interesting. I wish it was either this or I really wanted to do a rap song because
It's
I thought
so
that
good.
it's modern day
That's the
poetry, but
issue.
it's so hard, so hard to find one free from horribly sexist lyrics.
It's found the key in the right places.
Yeah,
though.
this is
Your
the thing, it's
commercial hip hop.
Yeah, you're
rap
not gonna
today,
get
it's
it
just
at all.
like people selling themselves little Yeezy swag guys, walking around in tunics and like tapered harem drop crotch pants.
Well, that was a veiled reference to what Hannah's wearing. So it's appropriate.
Just saying. But yeah, no, it's
Soft
that
guys.
the idea
You
of
look great.
rhythms, building off of a beat and putting your rhythms on that, and the words come from the rhythms. It's the same sort of thing.
And
That
rhythm
substance.
I think rhythm is a political thing as well, for sure. Like, different music from different places has different rhythms, and it become, the rhythms of like classical, iambic pentameter is a hugely political rhythm, if you think about it, because it's about a certain set of power structures and that kind of thing. And say the rhythms you get in, I don't know, jazz music or
Jazz is very
R&B.
like New Orleans jazz compared to New York jazz. Completely different. Like, talk about like a sort of a level. There's like a swing in New Orleans jazz that New Orleans people are like, yeah, New
And
York
that
you'll
almost
never
offbeat,
be able to
that lazy,
replicate
almost
that rhythm.
offbeat, slower sort of vibe where you're not bang on. It's a lot more relaxed, almost.
That like infiltrates the sort of like territorial rhythms. It infiltrates into everything. Like even now rap now, like give people like Lil Wayne, who's from New Orleans. The way he raps, if he's rapping about Hurricane Katrina, it's a very good song. Considering you should kind of like find Lil Wayne a bit much. But so about Hurricane Katrina, it's got this like the New Orleans like jazz in the background. You can just tell like he's like kind of like really pumping out this anthem for his hometown, about his hometown. It's just
And
embedded in
working off
every
of that
single, like you were
rhythm.
saying about it's political. So he's taking this because they were trying to like erase it after Hurricane Katrina. This kind of like what made New Orleans, and he's just pumping it out through his rhythms.
And that goes, I mean, at the most basic level, that's also about accent. That's a
Definitely.
hugely important thing when you're talking about poetry. I don't know, was it Seamus Heaney who, God no, it wasn't Seamus Heaney. This is a lot, I'm not an undergrad anymore, I can't remember these things. you forget everything.
You're doing a master's.
Difficult
I
life
know,
for a master's
I know.
student. I know too much now.
It's all jumbled up in there, I can't. But no, who had real trouble with, I mean, he uses fairly classical rhythms sometimes because he plays with it. But his accent is embedded in his poetry. It doesn't really work if you don't have a Leeds accent.
It's sort of thing of how you think. You're going to think. I think it's interesting for people who speak multiple languages. I'm always like, what language do you think in? Or and when you're writing, I guess it's what accent are you writing in? All the stresses are going to be different. The where you emphasize things and words are going to sound different, and that of course is political, so it's going to filter through to everything else.
Yeah, right.
That was something we were talking about last week, actually. I think you were reading one of my poems about an open mic night, and you were just like, "Will you write for your accent?" I was like, "Yeah, I kind of do."
But so many people don't.
Yeah.
I was at a conference thing recently with a bunch of Turkish actors, actually. Actors. Turkish actors. And what they were saying was that all the text they get, because they're translated into Turkish, are translated into this kind of very narrow, upper middle class, the Turkish equivalent of received pronunciation, and they don't have any slang in them or any sort of inflections of region or anything like that. And so that's a big problem that they're having in kind of the spoken word theatre world there.
Interesting.
Yeah, no, I never would have picked that before.
I often wonder about translations as well, because we read so few translated texts here. Oh, I know I've...
And the rest of the world reads all of ours translated to them.
Is that that interesting one. I've probably heard of it. How the first Harry Potter book, when it's in America, they had to change some words to simplify it down, so it's actually known as the Sorcerer's Stone over in America rather than.
Also, I found at Car Beats out a handy guidebook to Harry Potter for American people, explaining what stoat was.
Oh, wow.
Explaining I found it so amusing. I was like, they explained what plum pie was, a plum cake was. Like it's a type of like
British
Cake with plums?
yeah, and they're saying what like a Christmas pudding was as well, and then like explaining it so weirdly, and I was like, that's not what Christmas pudding is. You crazy people.
But it's like it's weird. Like you don't take that into account when like you're reading like a lot of novels like that. Some people don't know what a stoat is. Like that's incredible.
Well, I work with where I work, so GBK. Brighton.
Oh, you're throwing that in.
Raise the roof.
advertising.
Raise the roof. But I work with like loads.
Paying you.
We can't do that. I don't
Nothing.
think we can't advertise.
But I work with loads of like Latvian and like Lithuanian people and Spanish, and half of them learn English to like my mate Lara. She said she learned English so she could watch films, read books, listen to music, because she was like, it's like, oh, she used to hate, and my Spanish friends as well used to hate watching a film. So she's like, what did she watch? I think it was Frozen. She watched the Spanish version and then watched the
Subtitles.
the real version. Yeah,
okay.
no, it was like a Spanish voiceover and watched the real version. She's like, what the hell? And she also says that the Clockwork Orange in Spanish is better than the Clockwork Orange in English. I don't know.
Because of the nuances of the translation.
I don't know why.
Well, translating songs and poems is a whole nother bag to translating a film, though. Well, and Frozen has songs in it.
Yeah.
But I've seen the Dutch translation of Frozen with then an English translation, literal translation, and the lyrics are completely different in meaning because they have to rhyme.
Yeah. No, it's true.
I'm just enjoying the fact that we're like a university like lit podcast and we're on Frozen.
Frozen.
Yeah.
I
And of
dropped
course
the
the
Clockwork Orange in
implications.
there.
Look, I know you just want us to let it go.
Oh, God.
Frozen pun.
You
Sure.
can't see it right now, but Hannah's actually taking a sip of pimp juice
Yeah.
to celebrate that one.
As you do, as you do.
Oh, God.
You're going to
Right.
read your second poem
We
first,
will
Kiefer?
do the second poem and then we'll go for a break for the song. Right. So this is the one where I thought, oh, it'd be funny to do that. I think the reason I thought of it is I've got a new housemate.
Okay.
And there's a song that reminds me of an old housemate that I was like, oh, I remember that one. So this, I'm just gonna fucking.
Are you going to
read it.
dedicate it to
Okay,
someone in
I'm just gonna read-
particular?
this is like Fiona Mills. If you ever listen to this, you remind. You know why you remind me of this song. Because you got drunk and sang it on the sofa all the time. I'd trade my soul, pennies and dimes for this. Your stare, ripped jeans, skin showing. You took your time, gave me nothing, but still, I missed you so bad. I missed you so, so bad. I just met you. This is crazy. But here's my number. Call me. Maybe.
Literally, oh my god! Just to describe that,
Hold our lips
we-
shut.
we were just all sat here like slowly like rocking a little bit, like trying not to laugh, trying not to ruin that audio.
No,
That
it was
brilliant.
really slow. I think I was really slow because I saw all of like the realization come into all of your eyes, and I was like, oh crap, I just don't know this.
I just felt Kitty go at your ripped jeans, and she was like,
And I was like, this song is so familiar. And I was just like, oh my God.
No, that was because of your reading out voice is so serious. I was like, wow, where is this from? What
I
is
really wanted you to lose it there. I'm like, whisper, maybe. Like, call me, maybe.
I felt like you were doing that for me a little bit.
It's always
that was dedicated to you, really.
Kiefer flirts with me too much.
all the time.
It's really awkward.
You're really hard not to flirt with, and you are a terrible flirt, to be fair. As in terribly, you flirt a lot. You're very good at it.
Oh, well, see what he's doing right now? It's not even fair. You should see the looks he's giving me.
Ooh. This is why I'm sitting in the middle right now.
And this
Breaking
is why
us
we
up.
don't
Control in
film.
this room.
He's actually stripping.
The way I take that cardigan off.
I was gonna
is
say.
like
Yeah.
so sensual. Right, yeah, so
on that beautiful, lovely
On that
note.
visual.
yeah, I think we're going to move on to we're going to play a little bit of music, then we're going to come back in about 5 minutes or however long the song is. I'll admit, I have no idea what song is going to come on. It could be anyone.
So
It
it's
could be
always
anyone.
gonna be-
And we'll come back in about 5 minutes. Thank you.
Bye.
Hello, this is Kiefer coming to you from his editing suite, otherwise known as my bedroom. if we're being honest. I wish we could afford an editing suite, but, you know, the SU, they're so tight these days. I'm just here to introduce the music that you're going to be listening to in a moment. It's actually my friend's music. His name's Toby Balsaconis. His on-stage name is Lonely Was the Void. This song is called Black and Blue, and it's actually available for free download on Bandcamp at the moment. It's lonelywasthevoid.bandcamp.com. I'll put the link in the YouTube section thingy majiggy description. I'm going to stop talking now, enjoy the song, and yeah, download it for free.
Watching the world getting on with its life. Oh, what about me? I get pushed aside. Been watching my dreams pulled apart one by one. Yeah, what about me? Where do I belong? Where do I go wrong? The night follows day, then the dawn breaks again. That glimmer of hope quickly fades away. Gotta roll with the punches, kid, it's what we all do. Oh, life in its way leaves you black and blue, leaves you black and blue. Ooh, it leaves us black and blue. Till the waves will break on the shore, as the tide is turning, opportunities for the chance to make them hear me, to make them hear me screaming out. Oh, hear what I've gotta say. Today, watching our dreams take flight and slipping into the night, and watch as the worlds collide. I'm feeling so lost inside.
How good was that song? I mean,
Oh,
honestly,
thank you.
honestly,
Thank you.
amazing.
Great track by
Wonderful. Good
you
choice. Good
And
choice.
especially after the first half, lyrical genius. Like, honestly, master. You wouldn't even have to touch it. You just like take the music away.
That chorus, wow.
Yeah. The fact that you only did like just the 2 times as well, really poignant, really poignant.
Anyway,
we have
we have no idea
we
what you just
genuinely
heard.
that before and after. That's not a joke. I have none of us have any idea what song you just heard. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope
just set
our
yourself
choice
up as well.
makes you happy. That's all we're only here to please. We've just decided what we're going to do for the second half because we decide on one thing, then we change. And I like
was
the
a
whole.
plan. There was a
I like the whole sort of
Where
like
are
Bohemian
you,
just deciding.
Bohemians?
Yeah,
I
we
don't
could
know.
decide as we go along.
Go
We-
with the flow.
Change it
so
up.
what we're actually going to do is, after that sort of reference to Bohemian, we're going to do a really quite serious subject. It's something myself and Thicke have talked with quite a few other people about it. It's when a poet writes about a large or major political event that maybe they weren't involved in or didn't actually affect them personally, but maybe they were drawn to the emotions and maybe thinking about it had a personal effect on them, but they're right to write about it. It's something me and Thicke have both done poems which are about the subject. TK's is a lot longer than mine, so it's a lot harder for him to remember. And we can't actually go on the internet in here, unfortunately. So what you're going to get is you're going to get me reciting mine, which unfortunately isn't as good, but this is.
He always says this. It's not true.
It's on it. Have you heard his? All right, this is called 8:15. It is 8:14. It is silent. The city inhales and prepares to yawn itself into the day. Children break the serenity, screaming through the taste of toothpaste and breakfast on their tongues. Little boy after little girl, after little boy, they drag their kiloton limbs to school. It is 8:15, and they are radiant. It is 8:15. Thanks. That was the one.
Oh, and that was really good at all.
I feel to sort of, I don't normally tell people what it's about. I just kind of leave
I
it.
think always tell me, so I want to know if I'm right.
That one's that's Hiroshima. That one.
Oh, I thought it was Sandy Hook.
No, it's that was Hiroshima. The
What time was the bomb dropped?
8:15. So it starts at 8:14 and then it ends at 8:15. The bomb was called Little Boy.
Yeah.
Kiloton limbs, that kind of. There's references in there. That kind of feeds off the Jeffrey Hill thing from last week. I like having poems which have a basis, but once again, I wrote it and I read it, and every time I'm like,
see, I think it's an interesting one, because I think an event that big, I think there is that whole accountability, because World War II is one of those things, so many countries were involved, everyone has this sense of accountability, whilst maybe it wasn't even even though it was the Americans that dropped the bomb and it involved Japan, there's still that accountability of the fact that we helped in that development of making the atomic bomb, and the lead up to that point involved us all. So I think in that sense, it is fair for us to feel guilt about it, and we can still write about it. I think it's difficult though when you have events that are very specific to one place, and the risk there is insulting people maybe who are involved.
You're not trying to tell us how it feels though.
Yeah, which is what I was worried about, because I wrote a poem which I'm not going to recite now, but if you, the poem is called A Prayer for Mike Brown. If you Google that and you put in Words Dance afterwards, that's where it's been published. I can't remember whether there's audio, there might be. I'm not sure.
If not, we'll do a personal recording.
Yeah.
We
can make
just
that happen.
Just request it in comments and stuff.
Yeah. I wrote that, and then I thought, do I actually want to send this out? Because on the one hand, it was an issue that I really cared about and that touched me, and on the other hand, it's about the shooting of Michael Brown and the reaction to it, and the fact is that I don't live in America. I don't live in a country that has a massive gun problem or a particularly large section of the police armed, and it's not something that is likely to I'm not likely to get shot by a police officer, and so I felt this weird connection to this story, but on the other hand, my reality is so different from that.
Yeah.
I mean, to a lesser extent, I think the police forces in Britain still have a problem with racism.
Yeah.
Certainly, but I'm just not convinced people are dying of it in the same way as they are in the US. But yeah, I was really hesitant about ever sharing that poem, because it did somehow feel disrespectful, and it also feels a bit like you as an artist, and at the end of the day, I do want to make this into my living someday. Is it really right to then crib onto these stories that are about someone?
I think it's the reason it's such a touchy topic for people, because I think events like Hiroshima and things like that, and especially in the sort of globalized news culture we live in, do they just become, once they've happened, they're out there as a fact? And for instance, Hiroshima, I wasn't there, I wasn't born, I wasn't anywhere, but I know what it is, and it has its own place in our cultural history of, I learnt about it in secondary school, I learnt about it, and that's and you might not put that in your poetry, but so do these events have a life of their own outside of their context of what happened to them?
And if so, how soon does that happen?
Yeah.
Because with the Michael Brown thing, he still has a family out there who is still very much in the
grieving.
Yeah, in the first stages of that grieving process. So, at
it's
what
a whole
point?
voyeurism thing as well, because it's sort of you watching this sort of event that's happened and being inspired by that. As like, there's two ways to look at it. You can see that as I'm taking this and being inspired because it touched me and it moved me. It's not something that hit me. I don't know. I think it's quite a human thing.
It's an empathy thing. Like,
yeah.
I think of it as like either, because I can say you'd be like, I'm milking a cash cow for someone's problem. Like, if you want to make it into your career, like you make this beautiful poem, obviously you're not thinking about the money or getting published, but then you kind of feel like, I'm getting paid for someone suffering. Like, this is a really odd concept.
I don't think I'd ever accept payment for 8.15. I think that's the one thing I think of my poems, the ones like that I just I couldn't
so
be paid
funny
for.
though that when money gets involved, that's when we start going, ooh.
But you are literally profiting then. Where the 8.15 for me is, actually the reason 8.15 happened was I was writing a poem about World War II, and I was writing them from our side of it, from the Allied side of it, and I was like, but no one ever writes about Hiroshima. Like no one does. Like, and none of ours are about like soldiers suffering and everything, and that's a real thing.
It's about putting a voice to people who can't. Like if you think about these poor people's parents, like you kind of, when you see people who are like raped or their child died of anorexia or something, they want to use their child, see the kind of silver lining, use their child as example for other people and try and make the world a better place. But if you're grieving your baby, you might not be able to be put in that position. So as a poet, then also you're away from it as well. You can take this kind of bigger view. You can like kind of give them a voice, because you're not trying to offend them or make it feel different. You're trying to make the situation never happen again because you feel so strongly against it. You're with the parents.
Following that is just weirdly enough, I saw this amazing performance. It's called Nibiru, and it's on iPlayer. There's a documentary called India's Daughter. And this play, Nibiru, it's, or Nabaya, I think that's how you pronounce it. The concept is around, in India, well, not just India, but the concept's around women getting sexually assaulted. And it's based on a story that happened in India about this girl who was gang raped on a bus. And it explores that, but it's also women coming forward and telling the stories of what happened to them, whether they were sexually assaulted or abused. And what's powerful about it is that every woman who is telling their story, like, it's their story, they're telling it to you. And the talking about money and stuff, like the idea behind this is they're touring around the UK, they're doing tours, and they're trying to like tell this message of, you know, if you tell your story, you're gonna, you know, that's benefiting not only you but other women who might be getting assaulted at the same time. Like, you keeping quiet is making them think they can get away with it. And the end game is that they can tour India for free, so that they can show their show. So like, whilst they're making money out of it, the idea is then to contribute it back into the culture. And I mean,
there's a consent thing there going on in terms of story gathering though, isn't there? With, you know, that's, you're having survivors coming forward, or you're asking people for their stories and they're giving it to you directly. Whereas I think it's a different thing when it's a news story, because because I've never talked to the Mike Brown's family.
More voice to the noise though.
Yeah.
Like, you have these empowered women talking about these horrible experiences that happened to them, and someone kind of who has never been assaulted or raped or anything awful happened to them, kind of trying to empathise.
And what was amazing about this is, like, because basically the piece is so powerful that, like, at the end there's like a discussion where you have to almost talk it out because you're just hearing such horrendous things. And, you know, the women in the cast are saying, like, the reason we've come out and told our stories is maybe if we told them before, it wouldn't have happened to her. Like, this massive news story made like all the women in India kind of stand up and go, actually, maybe if we'd said something, it wouldn't have happened. And like, I think the big wave, and what happened was so many like massive protests happened in India, and they were getting shut down. And it wasn't just people who'd been affected; it had been people who just thought the whole thing that happened to this poor girl was completely wrong. And you have this big wave. And, you know, like, the whole message was spread in that sense. I think I'm not quite sure I'm making the point.
No, I hear you say it's kind of like, is that news story kind of spread across the world? Because you've got to think of yourself that these days we are global citizens, because you are aware of all these things happening. And if you're in a position to say something or support people like those Indian women who have started to speak out against people who didn't really want them to talk, and you go, yeah, you're totally right. They're like,
but like, sorry to to just stress it was not just India. I don't want to
Oh,
I don't want to say it's like, because one of the stories of the women, she was in fact Indian Canadian, and it happened to her in Canada. So like, you know, it's not like the point is everyone. I just wanted to stress that.
But, what I was going to say was, I think living in a it's amazing because we live in such a globalized culture, yet we feel like there are so many divisions in our societies, and we don't, I don't know, I'm getting off on one, going off on one now. We're all human people at the end. I think we need more empathy in the world.
But there
is people going like, and I think, again, like I think it's a weird romanticism sort of idea of like art is powerful, art is special, and I feel like when you're in you're some genius artist sitting on a cliff Byroning it out, but I think the ability to take something like a news story which is presented to you in one way and do what we artists do with our words and humanize it and make it into something, and whatever that essence, there aren't words for it, whatever that essence is that art brings to something, and art, you reflect something.
I do think that there's a danger there for us as artists, which is that if you're an artist, you are coming from a place of privilege because you have the skills to manipulate this story, and you can't not present it in a certain way. And I think that you have to be very, very aware of the fact that being an artist who has an audience of any size is a power, and you are a culture creator, and you have to be responsible in how you do that. So, for example, the poem I wrote, I wasn't interested at all in talking about it wasn't a court case, it was a poem. I didn't want to look at the police officer's side of things. I wanted to look at this individual and his life. And I did it that way because I think that wasn't the way it was being looked at in the media. So I was trying to counterbalance that. But I could have gone and written a poem about Officer Darren Wilson's injuries if I...
No, just as easily. And
I could,
that's problematic.
One could.
Place of like event, how the event's presented to you, how you then take that event, what you then produce of that event, and it's all that relationship between you, yourself, and the event, like you as an artist, singularly a subjective perspective, and this news story, which how subjective is it? How objective is it even for a news story? So it was saying it's presented in one way. So even you were realizing that there's this event that happened, and we'll almost never know what exactly happened. So it's just another side to that. But I feel like doing it as art, as a personal, powerful response, rather maybe than this structured.
Right. And I'm never pretending that my version of events is the version of events.
No, not at all.
And I think that's the power.
But there's something to be found in all the different stories. There we go. And the different voices in the noise.
Well, I think that's a really useful way to look at any important social issue, is that there's a community of voices, and I think as an artist or a poet or a writer, you do have a responsibility, because you have a voice and the tools to articulate yourself, to then somehow engage with the voices of people who aren't, who are voiceless.
But I think what people forget is, yes, you've got the artistic license, but if you're expressing an opinion that is completely clashing or really against the whole idea and the concept in the first place, people are going to rat you out about it. Then people aren't just going to sit down and go, okay, well, that's an opinion. They're going to be like, actually, no, that opinion is wrong. People are willing to kind of stand up and do that. So, example, American Sniper. You've got a lot of people who've come up and said, this film is very, very American propaganda. You've got to take it with a pinch of salt, because, you've got people like Seth Rogen, who was basically it reminded him of the clip it reminded him of a clip in a film of Nazi propaganda. That's what he compared it to. And so you do have people who, whilst you're expressing your opinion yourself in your work, you'll have other people who express their opinion on your work in relation to the crisis itself. And I suppose if you're willing to accept that some people will say you have no right to do that, you feel comfortable with that, then it's fine. But
it's about the spirit you approach something.
If you know you've got a good heart when you're approaching it, then you can sleep easy at night.
I think to a certain point as well, you could write about something which does affect you, and still have that reaction from people, because you quite a lot of the time, and you can get sort of hypocrisy with things where people say, well, I've experienced it worse, so you can't present that, if you know what I mean. That's kind of thing that you come across quite a lot. So I think it's always going to be a debatable one. I think it's never going to be agreed
No,
upon.
it's
That's
too
the
difficult.
problem.
It's far too difficult, and it's so difficult to like the right to write. It's
Yeah.
hard unpicking like an idea like that. How far do we have the right to write?
But I think I'm going to go with Kitty's point that as long as you go with a good heart, if your intentions with it are not propaganda, if they're not to like make your, if you just write something which is a personal inspiration on an event, if it is human empathy, then that happens. That's a beautiful thing.
And I mean that comes through like if you've written something and people like kind of say like, oh, are you sure about this? Like in your explanation, you'll be able to explain yourself because you know what you're thinking when you wrote it. Like,
exactly. I wrote a poem about my boyfriend's friend at work. Her husband died on Boxing Day last year. They've been together from when they were 15. She's 56 now. And she was telling me, she loves talking about him, and I was hanging out there, she was telling me all these beautiful stories about them being so in love, and he was quite a troubled guy, had a really rough background. She was like, just the opposite to him, they straightened each other out. And I wrote a love poem for them, and she like loved it.
yeah.
She was like, oh, it's just so, I never thought to do that. It's like, it's just so, because I was really, really worried. I was like, oh my God, like she died like last year. Like I know she likes talking about him, but
And do you
it's
have
me.
the right
it's
to
not,
write?
It's not me. It's like, it's not you. It's
Yeah.
me. Like, and she was just like, oh, she's just like, so did you read this to your class? And I was like, oh, I'm going to. She was like, I just want everybody to know how much I loved him. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing. I think we might wrap it up on that.
I was the quote of the day though is Byroning it out.
Byroning it out, man.
Yeah.
That got a little bit of a nod on the head from me because I was
Can
like,
that be the episode name?
Byroning it out. I
Byroning
think
it
that
out.
has to be it. Byroning it out.
Yeah, we've got to find our cliffs and Byron it out.
What was our soundbite from the first half?
Oh, it was,
I'm
I'm
not
not your
your
bitch.
bitch.
But you got to say it like totally like deadpan poet voice.
Yeah.
I'm not your bitch.
I'm not
There we
your
go.
bitch.
Just
I'm
Byroning it
Byroning
out.
Byroning it out, guys.
We do have one small piece of just stuff to tie up, and that is Kitty was brought in as she put herself as an impartial judge on the songs front, and now I'm going to put her on the spot.
Dun, dun,
Yeah, you
dun,
have to
dun,
choose.
dun, dun.
TK's not allowed. Like.
Well, technically, Kiefer, I can only take
This
one
is a hate
entry from
crime.
you.
You can take whatever entry you like.
Not very kind.
Thought that might get a laugh.
Oh, I'm going to have to say Hannah. That was a fabulous poem.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
blurring
I
those
wouldn't
lines.
blur
So,
it.
You
Yeah.
yeah.
spoke soundbite and feminist like drum rolls. Congrats.
There you go.
Yeah.
You can go home.
Right,
And the
okay.
prize is pride.
Yeah.
And on that note, if you want to send in songs or books you want to talk about, if you want us to turn any more songs into poems, I should say, just send them and we'll try
It's a fun
and
little exercise.
do it. It's quite interesting, and we'll force TK to actually do something.
Do that. Also, if you have topic ideas, that would be
Yeah,
cool.
topic ideas
Yeah.
would be.
Where can they send them into, Kiefer?
Well, when it's online, I'm not entirely sure where we're going to be hosting it. It's going to be on YouTube, and there's a few other websites that all have comment sections. Just comment, join the Facebook group. We'll try and do the Facebook group thing. We have facebook.com/groups/Brighton ULS, and just message us on there and say,
you wanna
hey,
keep me?
do this.
Keep
Yeah,
Kitty
but-
as a comment.
Yeah,
Kitty
yeah.
as a
we're-
hashtag.
Should we introduce hashtags? Hashtags keep Kitty. I think that's going to be like, we're just going to be overrun. That's going to be our popular Twitter. We're going to have millions of followers. Yeah, and other than that, we've been Byroning it out and talking lit. So
Talking lit.
we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
I'm not your bitch.